There are growing fears for civilians trapped inside the Sudanese city of el-Fasher in Darfur. The Sudanese military has withdrawn from the city, and there are reports that fighters with the breakaway military faction, Rapid Support Forces, are executing people trying to flee. International organisations are calling for humanitarian access to the city and safe passage for people trying to leave.
RSF fighters cheer in front of the army headquarters in el-Fasher in Darfur. It's a strategic victory for the paramilitary group, which has been fighting the Sudanese army since 2023. The government forces have now lost their last remaining stronghold in Sudan's Darfur region.
We've agreed to withdraw the army from the city to a safer location to spare the citizens and the rest of the city from destruction.
As the RSF closed in on el-Fasher, thousands of people tried to flee. The UN Human Rights Office says it has reports of RSF fighters executing civilians and committing other war crimes. The Yale Humanitarian Research Lab has compared satellite imagery and says it has found proof of ethnic cleansing and war crimes. Civilians who manage to leave the combat zones often end up in camps like this. The UN says the humanitarian situation there is terrifying.
What we do know is that civilians fleeing el-Fasher are often held for ransom along the road, part of the road being controlled by militia. And for the civilians who arrived yesterday, the NGOs who received them, adults and children alike, dehydrated, malnourished, some injured, and all traumatized.
The armed conflict between the RSF and the Sudanese army is complex. Originally, the army chief and the RSF leaders were allies in a military coup against former Sudanese ruler Omar al-Bashir, and again 2 years later, when a civilian government was overthrown. The RSF fighters were then supposed to be integrated into the army, but an agreement failed, and the unanswered question over who would lead the combined forces resulted in a civil war. Several countries are indirectly involved in the conflict. Egypt and Saudi Arabia support the army, while the United Arab Emirates support the RSF. They are seeking influence and access to Sudan's raw materials. As the RSF now controls Darfur, some analysts are concerned the region could soon separate from Sudan.
Let's get more on this from Caitlin Howarth, who's Director of Conflict Analytics at the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab. Welcome to DW. Let's start with the plight of the people trapped in el-Fasher. What are you hearing from sources on the ground?
Our greatest concern is that those on the ground really have nowhere to go, and that as they are trying desperately to escape over the massive earthen wall that completely surrounds the city, they're being shot down. We're seeing really concerning evidence consistent with reports that people are being shot as they attempt to flee over that wall, objects that appear to be consistent with bodies near the berm and in clusters traveling towards the berm.
And as far as we can tell from a distance, is that why are people being shot?
Frankly, this is the exact scenario that we predicted for months and months leading up to this exact point. This is the culmination of what we have been telling the world was going to be a genocidal campaign by the RSF. The people who lived inside el-Fasher have been the targets of increasing genocidal violence by the RSF and its allies since the early 2000s. There is Fur and so many other indigenous peoples of Darfur who have been increasingly pushed into el-Fasher as their place of last resort. We already saw these massive atrocities being committed on Zamzam IDP camp. Those who were able to survive that, if they could not escape to points further beyond, like Tawila, they came into el-Fasher as their point of refuge, and then they've been steadily starved. But this is the end game. So we knew that this is exactly what would happen.
the end game. So what do you expect to happen from here now that the RSF holds almost all of Darfur?
Liquidation. They will continue to go, as what we've already documented in our latest report. They appear to be moving house to house, controlling the streets, blocking off exits, and engaging in a campaign that looks like it is ethnic cleansing, making sure that the city is completely emptied out of anyone who they consider to be unwanted. That is what we knew that they would do because it's what they've done. It's what they did in El Geneina. It's what they did in Zamzam. And it's what they will continue to do throughout the rest of Darfur. That is their agenda. This is not an anomaly. It's not the exception. It is the rule. It's what they believe to be part of their core mission for taking over this territory. And in their eyes, cleansing the land for their utter domination.
And the territory that you talk about, is that Darfur and then splitting from Sudan?
This is something that wiser colleagues than I have actually called into question, and I think that they have an important point. There's so much that Darfur has to offer in terms of resources, gold being one of them. But the country has a lot to go for it. And there's, despite the man-made famine that has hit it, there's so much to offer in terms of arable land. This is an incredibly rich land, rich territory. There's so much in terms of Gamarabaka, which is a crucial resource for so many companies and critical mainstays, things that you and I use all the time. I'm sitting here with a can of Coca-Cola on my desk right now, which can't be made without it. Sudan itself is a land that is the gateway to so much else throughout the world. And so, honestly, it's hard to say that RSF's aspirations will end at the borders of Darfur or whether they will keep on going. I think that they have not showed any lack of ambition, and it's easy to see why they would want to keep on going. They've certainly shown an appetite for wanting to move onto Khartoum and Omdurman, Al Jazeera in the past. Why not continue if they only seem to be able to go further? They certainly have had the access to weapons, including drones, to project now through the air onto Port Sudan and elsewhere. So I think that the wise thing to do right now is to look at what their strengths are and to see that as the size of their ambition.
Okay, thank you for guiding us through that so clearly, Caitlin. Caitlin Howarth from the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab.
More on this, Sudan analyst Elbashir Idris joins us now from Cardiff. Elbashir, what are you hearing from el-Fasher since the RSF took control of it?
Good morning. So as of the past 48 hours, the Rapid Support Forces have taken control of the last city not within their control in North Darfur, which is of el-Fasher. Currently, we are seeing thousands of families, about 2,000 families, equaling to around 4,000, 5,000 plus of civilians running, or if they could even move, because for the past 500 days, they've been under a siege where they don't have enough food to even have energy, moving to a town, to a makeshift community hub named Tawila, which is essentially 50 kilometers away. However, down on the ground within el-Fasher itself, those who did not have the opportunity to escape from the onslaught of the Rapid Support Forces have been essentially killed. In the Yale University Humanitarian Research Lab, satellite images confirm that the RSF have been going door to door, cleansing and massacring the innocents within the city. And initial reports estimate that the death count is of 2,000. But however, we believe that is a very gross representation of the reality on the ground. Currently, the Rapid Support Forces have managed to overrun the city of el-Fasher, and this marks a breaking point, actually, not just for the civilian concerns regarding in Sudan, but even in the geopolitical space and strategy of Sudan. And this comes in tandem at the same time with the Washington, D.C. negotiations, where the warring parties of the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces had come together in Washington, D.C. to essentially try to negotiate some sort of 3-month ceasefire, humanitarian truce, leading to a 9-month civilian transition. Though the way that this has come forward with this current news of el-Fasher just goes to show that this isn't anything new, and multiple experts, analysts, activists, including myself, have been on this channel trying to warn the public and the international community of what it would look like if the Rapid Support Forces take over el-Fasher and commit these onslaughts, which is a repeated pattern of violations we have seen every time.
Okay, now the fall of el-Fasher to the Rapid Support Forces is seen by analysts as a turning point in Sudan's civil war. What can we expect to change then on the ground in terms of control?
Well, the first thing we can expect is continued massacres of innocent civilians. Whenever the Rapid Support Forces, their modus operandi is that when they enter a new settlement within Sudan, or even recapturing an old one, the first thing that is done is the killing of innocent civilians. And this is shown by proof that the attackers themselves are the ones videoing their crimes, putting up online, and being very brandishing it, being very brazen. And this is the kind of behavior that we expect happening.
Okay, what I'm asking about is control of the territory and who's going to be governing the country moving forward after this, after having taken this town. Could we be seeing a de facto division of Sudan coming out of this?
Well, to expect a genocidal militia to have some sort of governing capacity after what we've seen for these past 2.5 years is not very smart. But at the same time, yes, you are correct that there is essentially a plan to create a split within Sudan. And essentially what is being trying to create is a new Sudan. Just a few months ago, there has been a de facto government within that region led by the commanders of the Rapid Support Forces and the allied militias and their civilian components to essentially establish a new sort of native administration. Though whether they have the capacity to govern in these kind of cases, it is yet to see. But however, as for the past 900 or so days during the war in Sudan, and during the time of the Rapid Support Forces capture of various cities across Sudan, it doesn't seem like the Rapid Support Forces are serious in governing, but more so in attacking civilians and causing much more ethnic cleansing and rife.
Elbashir, thank you very much. That was Sudan analyst Elbashir Idris in Cardiff.
I asked John Riaga from Doctors Without Borders what his organisation's teams are witnessing in Darfur right now.
Thank you. What we are witnessing right now is a massive influx of people coming in from the region of el-Fasher into Tawila. Now, MSF is stationed in Tawila, which is about 60 kilometers from el-Fasher, and we have a facility right at the entrance. On the night of 26th and 27th, of this month, just about 2 days ago, we had over 1,000 people coming in trucks from el-Fasher, obviously fleeing the violence that is in el-Fasher. And what happens is when they come, some of them come really sick, and we offer medical services, and we are able to transfer or refer those who are in critical condition to the hospital. That is from the entrance where we are stationed with the facility to the hospital. And we have seen about 300 people treated at the health post and 130 sent to emergency room for life-saving surgery. About 15% for about 15 of them for life-saving surgery. So over the last 1 week, we have seen about 1,300 people fleeing el-Fasher, and they come in 75%. Majority of them screened are actually children, and 75 of them were screened for acute malnourishment. And 26% of the 75%, we are looking at severe malnourishment. And what we are saying as Doctors Without Borders, that even as this is going on, that these people may be allowed to leave el-Fasher even as they come into Tawila, just run for their lives and seek medical care. Just the number of patients that we see at the outpost, at the entrance of Tawila, and even those that we refer to the main hospital in Tawila, is an indication of the dire situation that is in el-Fasher. So we are just appealing that from our station, that these people are then allowed to, get into Tawila. It is 60 kilometers away, and that is tiring enough for people running away from war. And some of them are fleeing while obviously sick. You have seen
John, can I interrupt
the statistics about the children.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, John, but can I ask you, do you have any access at all to el-Fasher?
No, we do not have access into el-Fasher. In fact, we left el-Fasher months ago because it no longer got, tenable to provide security for staff of Doctors Without Borders. And so we made the very painful decision to leave el-Fasher, and we moved 60 kilometers away. So we do not have a presence inside of el-Fasher because of the security situation there.
And you're saying that Doctors Without Borders is warning of a possible massacre in el-Fasher. What makes you think that this could happen?
What we are seeing and what we are saying is that we have seen in the last few days a massive influx of people who are obviously running away from the violence, and they're in their thousands. 1,300 in just about a week is a huge number. So this points to what could be going on in el-Fasher. We are not in el-Fasher, and so we cannot say that this is exactly what is going on. But from the numbers that we are receiving in Tawila is an indication that people are really running away from something that is devastating that is going on in el-Fasher.
Yeah. What kind of
we are making is...
John, can I ask you, what kind of international response do you need right now, and from whom?
What we are saying, and the appeal that we have been making all since this war actually began in the whole of Sudan, is that at this point it is now important for all the international players, all the actors, to get their heads together and say, look, something is going on in Sudan. We have seen it in Darfur, in Khartoum, and now in el-Fasher. That needs everybody to come together, and because there is the other bit that we may not get into. So those who are involved in the political thing should get their acts together and look at this. But we are also saying that even for the humanitarian support that we are giving, the medical services that we are offering, is not enough. We need one personnel to be allowed to offer these medical services without any type of hindrance. So what we are saying is everybody who is concerned, be it at the political end or the humanitarian end, should all come together and say there is a problem in Sudan that needs to be sorted out as soon as possible.
John Riaga from Doctors Without Borders. We'll leave it there, but thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.